Tom, when I look at the overarching Christian view, the question of God's judgment always comes up, and the prevailing view is that for whatever reason, some human beings will not make it in the best way. And what troubles
That's
me,
a polite way of putting it.
what troubles me deeply is no matter who those persons are, whatever they did was for a finite period of time, 100 years, maximum, of doing evil all the time and the worst kinds of evil that they can. Is it fair for a loving God, even for a normal human being, to ascribe eternal punishment or eternal missing of some great goal for what occurred within such a small period of time?
You put the question in the way that many philosophers would, and I want to row back, as I do with many questions that come at us from our present context. So much of American life, church life, is fixated on heaven and hell, as though heaven and hell were kind of equal and opposite. And in the Bible, that's just not like that. Okay. Heaven and earth are the twin halves of God's reality. And if there is a meaning to the word hell, it's that again is a label for a story about human beings who are created with responsibility and who choose to abuse that responsibility or use it in the wrong way. But let's be quite clear that in Jewish and Christian thought, creation and judgment are the twin poles. God makes a world and God will eventually put it right. And the danger is that we hear the word judgment, and when you said it a minute ago, I thought you were going in a more positive direction, but we always hear it in a negative way, the judgmentalism and all that sort of thing. In, say, Psalms 96, 98, the animals and the trees and the sea are shouting for joy because Israel's God is coming to judge the world. What's he going to do? Smash it to smithereens because it's been misbehaving itself? No, it means to put it all right. And the image goes back to ancient Israel, where you'd have a circuit judge who would go around the towns and villages, and there would be bad things happening and people would be getting out of sorts, and you would look forward to the judge coming because the community would heave a sigh of relief. Stuff would get sorted out and we could start over. And God's judgment is about stuff getting sorted out. Now, that's number one point. Number 2 point is, if God makes humans to reflect his image into the world and to reflect the praises of creation back to him, then if humans say, I don't want to do that, I want to worship a different God who will give me this sort of a thrill or this sort of a possibility, then what they're saying is, I'm actually rejecting the creator God, and that means that if this creator God is going to put this world right in his way, I don't want to be part of it. Now, it seems to me that God gives humans the possibility of doing that and saying that. Our difficulty here is that the Western imagination is so conditioned by two things, by Dante's Inferno and by Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel. And they come out of the Western tradition. If you went and asked an Eastern Orthodox theologian, they wouldn't do it like that at all. Not that they're necessarily universalists, but that they would have a different way of talking about how being a failed human project, if you like, would work out eventually. And there are many strands of Christian tradition which would say that it is as though this creature would decide no longer to be image-bearing, that they would be a creature still, perhaps, whether conscious or not, I don't think we're given to know that, but who is no longer reflecting God's image because they have chosen not to do so. And so there will be a sense of them passing beyond pity at the moment they pass beyond hope. That's what some would have said.
Is death the final bell that determines when that happens, the passing beyond hope?
Yeah,
A wonderful
yeah,
phrase,
yeah.
if that were the case. Is there a time period that you get and then it's over? And then eternity is set thereafter?
Again, I don't like the word eternity because that I think for many people it implies a kind of Platonic thing, but leaving that to one side, I don't see any reason in the Bible and early Christian tradition for denying that death is the end. That's a double negative, I know, but I don't see any reason to say, oh no, death is only one stage in a journey and there'll be plenty of other opportunities later. I just don't think we're given to know that.
We're not given to know that, or you don't see any possibility in the dialogues or in the scriptures themselves that could happen.
Yeah, I don't see any possibility held out. And I mean,
That's really unfair.
I feel the force of the point, because whenever we're talking about this, we're talking probably about people we know, people we love. You know, there are people that I know who seem to have said at some point in their lives, I'm really just not going this way at all. I don't want to know. I don't care. That's how it is. And these are people I know and love. So I don't like talking about them as though they're just sort of case studies from
And some of them are the most righteous people that I know.
Well, that's a whole other question as to what that means and how that works. But I think part of the point is, for an ancient Jew singing the Psalms, or for a Christian then retrieving those same Psalms and thinking about how judgment works, the important thing is, thank goodness it's God who's doing this and not me. You know, in Shakespeare's play Measure for Measure, you come back to that wonderful scene at the end where everybody gets forgiven, including all the wrong people. And I think Shakespeare is saying something which resonates very deeply with us, that maybe there is a world in which all is known and all is forgiven, but that if you try to presume on that and say, oh, well, that doesn't matter, you cut the nerve of everything that makes humans makes it worthwhile to be human. And I think Jewish tradition and Christian tradition and some other religious traditions as well would all affirm that the choices we make in the present matter. We are not simply playing a game of chess at the end of which God will say, okay, let's just put the pieces back on the board and forget all that. What we do in the present really matters, and I think God intends it that way.